Hello friends, welcome to another vlog of iPharma. In this vlog, we are going to have a discussion over the studying in abroad, pursuing a PhD in an abroad and pursuing masters in an abroad. So let's begin up with this session. So hello and welcome sir, welcome to my channel iPharma. So before we just move on with the discussion and all, I will request you to please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hello Pratik. First of all, thanks for inviting me to your channel, and it's always pleasure to talk to pharma students, and it's good that you have a channel dedicated to just pharma education and helping pharma students. And with the same intention also, like helping pharma students, I started the study abroad consultancy because, as you know, in India, B Pharma or pharmacy profession is not as respected as we want it to be, right? So when I did my B Pharma from Nasik back in 2004, at that time also, like medicine was the most sought out after career, and same with engineering, but pharmacy is not as much. And when I joined B Pharma in NWP College of Pharmacy, then I realized that some of our seniors are abroad. My father told me that one of his friend's son, he is abroad doing his PhD in India after pharmacy. So there I, got to know that, oh, okay, even pharma students can go abroad. So of course I started my preparation, preparing for exams like GRE, TOEFL at that time. But because at that time there was no internet, I couldn't prepare really well. I didn't have much information. Unlike today, you have all information in your hand through cell phone, you have easy access to internet. At that time, we need to go to cyber cafes and get the information. So, I started at that time during B Pharma, applied for different universities, but I didn't get admission at that time. So I moved to, doing MS Pharma. So I did appear for, at that time we had a gate and NIPER entrance, of course. I couldn't get into NIPER Mohali. My rank was not good, of course, because I was focusing more on GRE and TOEFL. So my NIPER ranking was not that great. So I couldn't get into, I was about to get into NIPER Mohali, but I couldn't for some, because of something, I remember. But then suddenly this new NIPER started, then we came to know that different locations, like Hyderabad, Hajipur, Ahmedabad, they're going to have NIPER. And I got into NIPER Hyderabad for pharmaceutical analysis. So during that period, of course, I always wanted to go for PhD abroad. And I always had in my back of my mind that I want to go for PhD and I want to do it only abroad, in USA only. So during my stay at, MS NIPER also, when I was studying, doing my project, at that time, again, I was doing the preparation for going abroad, giving the exams, selecting the universities. And once I finished my MPharm, I got admission into, different universities. I got admission from 4 different universities in USA with full funding, like tuition waiver and scholarship. And I chose to go to North Dakota State University, where I did my PhD in pharmaceutical sciences. Degree is pharmaceutical sciences, but of course my project was more related to drug delivery, liposomal nanoparticles for targeted drug delivery to cancer cells. And I joined in 2010 and I finished my PhD in 3.5 years. I finished in 2014, early 2014. Then I joined a clinical diagnostic lab. So again, this is one of the things with our, pharma profession, that we always narrow our profession to only pharmaceutical industry. But we don't know how much scope we have in different areas as well. Like one of the areas is clinical diagnostic. And now people kind of know in India as well this field because of, thanks to COVID, everybody knows COVID test, PCR, antigen test. So now they know they are being done in, clinical labs. These clinical tests are developed by, different companies like Siemens, Beckman and all. And there we can have a job, like pharma people, they have their R&D. And we as a pharma student have a lot of scope there. So after finishing my PhD, I joined one such lab, clinical diagnostic lab, as a toxicologist, where I used my pharma analysis skills, LCMS, MS, HPLC, and all those techniques used in that lab. And after working there for 2.5 to 3 years, I got my certifications necessary for the laboratory director position. So in USA, if you have a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences or any chemical or biological sciences, and if you have certain certification courses, you need to appear for exams, you can become a lab director of clinical diagnostics lab. And now I'm a lab director of 5 different labs in USA. I'm also working as a clinical consultant. If somebody wants to start a new lab, so someone like me can help them with the compliance, the FDA requirement, the central government requirement, state regulations, and of course the technical aspect, like how to develop a test, how to validate a test, what instrument to get, what reagents you need. So someone like me, we are working as a laboratory director, but at the same time we help them set up the clinical lab. Yeah. So that's how my journey was. Like B.Pharm from Nasik, then MS from Naipur, Hyderabad, pharmaceutical analysis. Then I came here for PhD pharmaceutical sciences in USA, and last almost 7-8 years I've been working as a laboratory director.
Sir, as you just described all the things about the labs and all, I would request you to, can you just elaborate more about the clinical diagnostics? Means, as you are saying that your department was pharmaceutical analysis in the NIPA Hyderabad, and in clinical diagnostics and all, mostly we say, we see majorly the people from regulated toxicologies or from,
right.
Yeah.
So see, first of all, in India, it's always, somebody asks what you want to do your higher education in, So everybody says pharmaceutics or formulation. And the reason for that is, of course, India has a majority of generic companies, like companies which work on generic formulations. Original research is not as much as the Western countries. So that's why the basic research like pharmacology and any other field, it's not as sought out after. So everybody wants to go for SUTEX, but they don't understand the fact that, there is much wider scope. And now I think students have realized it for the other disciplines like pharmacology, toxicology, pharmaceutical analysis. And one of the field, as I said, is clinical diagnostic, where we don't know. And especially pharmaceutical analysis, as we know, most of the big companies, they do have analytical department. Be it Apple, something like Apple company, be it like Coke, these companies also, they want to analyze their product for the impurities, for chemical composition, food industry, paint industry. We pharmaceutical science people can fit in really well. So someone like me, I did my master's in pharmaceutical analysis. So of course I had experience with method development, different analytical instruments like UV, FTIR, HPLC, LCMS, NMR. All these instruments, I was, of course I didn't have hands-on experience with everything, but I had the knowledge. And all these techniques are used in almost all industries. Not in production, but in their R&D department. Someone like Coke, Coke wants to make sure that whatever reagents they're using, whatever the formula for their drink they're using, it needs to be pesticide free, it needs to be impurity free, toxic, impurities. So they have to do the analysis of that, right? They have to do the method development. They have to keep checking all the batches. So they're like someone like us, pharmaceutical science, we do have a scope. So similarly, there is a field like clinical diagnostic. Like I said, thanks to pandemic, now everybody knows that there is a field like clinical diagnostic and its importance because of the COVID test and all. In India, now it's getting bigger because people are becoming more health conscious. Now they are putting money into diagnostic tests. Everybody is going for yearly checkup. That was not the case 10 years before, right? Like most of the people, of course, like we are a developing country. we can't afford to, put so much money in diagnostic itself. We only go to doctor when we need, like when we feel sick. But I'm glad that, that's changing now. So people are going to clinical diagnostic lab just to check their overall, how's their body performing, how's their glucose, how's their cholesterol, how their vitamins, everything. So these tests are done in clinical diagnostic. And this clinical diagnostic lab, they have different analytical instruments. They have different chemical analyzers. They have LCMS. They have UV and different instruments, depending on the complexity of lab. Like what kind of test they are doing. So to handle these instruments, to do the R&D of these instruments and different methods, they need someone like us. So big companies, like these instruments, of course, are developed by the diagnostic test. Like, for example, COVID test, COVID PCR test or COVID antigen test. Someone must have developed it, right? Yeah. These big companies like Abbott, Abbott is the big player in clinical diagnostics. Then Beckman is there. Then there is a Siemens there. And of course, there might be, there must be a lot of Indian companies as well, but I'm just mentioning which are global players, So these companies, they develop these assays. There is a monkeypox, right? Right now, there is a monkeypox. So, of course, to develop a diagnostic test, you need a knowledge of that, like in terms of how to analyze it, how to do the analytical assays, especially bioanalytical assays. So, be it cancer, be it infectious diseases, be it, drug testing, all this is done in an analytical lab. And all these analytical labs are, nothing but diagnostic lab. All diagnostic labs are analytical labs in a way, because they do analysis of something, be it glucose, be it cancer marker, or be it, some vitamin D or something. So all these tests are done on an analytical instrument, and there someone like me who has a pharmaceutical analysis background fit in really well. So this is one of the field which most of us are not aware. And that's what I was initially saying, that we always tend to focus more on just pharmaceutical industry. So I want a lot of students to also explore this field. There's a lot of scope.
So my next question is that when a pharmaceutical student is just thinking to get in an abroad, then he or she must focus on master's or PhD in abroad. What he must
yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so that always comes up. So should I go abroad after B.Pharm, bachelor's degree, or should I go after MS? Should I do masters in India, or should I come for masters abroad? So there are two aspects. You can come to USA for masters, but it can be little expensive. The reason for that is, so the main difference between masters and PhD doing abroad is, masters, there are a lot of openings, but there is less funding. For PhD, there are less openings, but there is more funding. So your chances of getting admission for masters is much, much more, but getting funding is less. So you might end up paying, fees and your expenses from your own pocket. So that can be a good amount of money. But for PhD, although there are less positions available, but there is funding is more. So if you're going to get the admission, you're going to get it for sure with funding. So all your tuition fees will be waived. You don't have to pay the fees. But at the same time, you will get some kind of, stipend as well. Research assistantship, teaching assistantship, graduate fellowship. So it really depends on you, your family background, and what you want to do. Sometimes students, they want to take risk, even doing masters here is also not a bad idea. And I will explain you why. So when you do masters, of course, you need some, initially you want to put in some money, like for 6 months or first 1 semester or 2, you have to pay fees from your pocket. And that can be up to 10-15 lakhs. Okay. But now when I tell you that 10-15 lakhs, okay, the first thought in mind, someone like me from middle class, it's too expensive. I don't want to spend that much money. But you need to remember that, you can go for education loan. And once you pass out from your masters, and if you join a company after finishing your master in USA, your starting salary itself will be minimum 40 to 50 lakhs per annum, So those 10, 15 lakhs, even if you invest, you can get rid of it, within 6 months. So that's not a big deal. And that's what I see a lot, especially students from southern part of India, like from Hyderabad and Chennai. They don't care, like most of them are engineers, of course, but they just get the admission wherever they can. They just come here, they know they're going to finish their degree in 3 semesters, 1.5 years. And after that, they're going to get the job and they can get rid of that education loan, whatever, 15, 20 lakhs, they don't care, because within 6 months, you can get rid of it. So why worry, right? And they don't want to go for PhD, some students, they don't want to go for PhD. Who will do PhD for 4 years? And I want to earn money. Good for them. Each individual has their own plan. And that's why, some students prefer masters. But someone like you who, if you are a type of person who do not want to take a risk, I don't want to go for like 15 lakhs of loan. It's better you do your masters in India, from institutes like NIPER, and NIPER really has a brand value abroad now. Okay, like I know a lot of my students, when they contact professor, the professor do say, oh, you are from NIPER. They know about NIPER because there are a lot of NIPER students abroad. They have created a goodwill, So if you do masters from NIPER, you will, have that good platform. Of course, your research experience would be better. Your recommendation letters from your professors would be better. And that will definitely increase your chances of getting admission for PhD abroad. So if you want to do PhD, do it from a premier institute, something like NIPER or ICT or Bates or any other institute where you can get a good research experience. So for getting a PhD admission, all you need is good research experience. If you have good research experience, maybe a review article, maybe a research article, something like that on your CV, that increases your chances of admission to the great extent. So the two aspects, doing masters and doing PhD, and it really depends on what you want to do. So there is not, I can't recommend one over the other. Okay. What I would recommend is go for PhD. Even if you come here for masters, go for PhD. Unfortunately, our field is like that, pharmaceutical sciences, where just having a bachelor's or master's degree doesn't guarantee you, the career growth and, the salary which you want, If you have a highest degree, which is PhD in your field, when it comes to the increment, when it comes to the promotion, there is nothing can stop, Of course, you'll join the industry, the experience will come by itself, but education, you have to go for it, right? And once you go into the industry, once you go into the job, it becomes more and more difficult because, the personal life comes into the picture, you have a family, and then, it becomes lesser and lesser probable, So you have to do it when you finish your masters. Otherwise, it gets difficult. Of course, some students, they work for a couple of years in industry and they go back to, doing PhD. That is also not a bad plan, but not everybody can afford, So it's better you do the PhD. Again, it's individual choice. It's up to individual preference. But if you ask me, then, I would recommend. And there are several advantages also. If you want to have your career and if you want to live abroad in USA, that's good for your, like permanent residency, or we call it green card, right? So if you have a PhD, your green card chances increase, you get it very easily. So that is also one benefit, which I can explain later.
Also, one question is related to the master's degree. When we are pursuing a master's in pharmaceutical sciences in foreign countries like abroad in USA, Canada, so we are having some exit exams also, because I have read somewhere that we have some exit exams also. Not like the one who are coming from an engineering background, they just pursue up their masters and just go for the jobs and all. But in pharmaceutical sciences, we are having some exit exams in foreign countries. Do we need
exit exams? I don't know what you mean by exit exams, but if you want to come abroad, so different countries have different exam requirements, but I will talk about USA. So USA requires 2 exams. Okay, one is IELTS or TOEFL. So IELTS and TOEFL, these are English proficiency exam. Okay, so they just want to check whether you can communicate in English, whether if you listen to English, whether you understand it, whether you can speak English. So the basic is the basic of that exam is to assess your communication skills in English. That's it. These are TOEFL and IELTS exams. The second one is GRE, Graduate Record Examination. And it is one of the optional exams. It's not always compulsory. There are universities where it's not required anymore. But there is good amount of universities, good top rank universities where it's still required. And GRE is nothing but Graduate Record Examination. It's an aptitude test. And aptitude, what it means. Like, they want to check your critical reasoning capabilities. It has English and quantitative sessions in it. Whereas IELTS, TOEFL are just English, there is nothing else. These 2 exams are required if you want to pursue master's or PhD in USA. All other countries like Canada, Australia, Europe, or any other countries, you need at least 1 exam like IELTS. Like for example, if you want to go to Europe, a lot of countries, they have IELTS requirement. If you want to go to Canada, Canada is right now hottest destination if you want to migrate. If you want to go for PR or green card, Canada is the hottest destination right now, and they require IELTS. And IELTS score around 7.5 or 8. So these exams, once you qualify, then you are eligible to apply to different universities, right? So if you're thinking of masters, if you're thinking of doing PhD abroad, start working on your English first, I would say. Because all these exams, GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, 70-80% of it, I would say 90% of it is English. And fortunately or unfortunately, now English is the planet, language of the planet Earth. Wherever you go, that's the language, someone else is gonna, understand. So work on your English. Doesn't matter if you're coming abroad or not. If you have a good communication skills in English, especially written and spoken English, that's going to help you in the career and your life. Yeah.
So my next question is that what kind of research background do we require when we are thinking to pursue a PhD?
So,
because when we are coming up from a NIPER background, we have a little bit of research background. But when we come from normal colleges, let's say, that much research is not there. So how they can think of to go for abroad and pursue PhD?
That's a really good question, and that comes because if someone is doing masters, of course, masters, you do research only for 1 year, and within 1 year, you cannot do quality research. And of course, being developing country, we do not have always good resources for research. Like institutes like NIPER, they might have, but not other institute, like you said, you rightly said that. Yeah. But again, as I said, there are 2 types of articles you can write, or there are 2 ways you can show that you are knowledgeable in a particular field. One is, of course, research article. The second one is either book chapter or a review article, right? So research article, of course, you need a lab, you need reagents, you need a professor to help you out, right? But to write a book chapter or to write a review article, you don't need that, right? You just need a laptop. That's it. And few articles from, PubMed, or few articles from particular journal on a particular topic. So you don't have excuse for that. No matter which college you are in India, no matter how many resources you have, you will have access to, articles online. So if you're working in a drug delivery for a cancer or pancreatic cancer, take that topic, collect 100 articles online, get help of your seniors, get help of your friends, collect those articles, full articles, read those articles and put your perspective on it, write an article, send it to the journal. You don't need a lab, you don't need reagents for that, right? So simply one laptop or one computer, you can write an article and get it published. So it's up to you, how you want to show your research aptitude or your interest in a particular topic. So a lot of times when we apply for PhD, we communicate with the professors, right? And we write them that, oh, I'm interested in doing PhD in your lab. I'm really passionate. Everybody says that they are passionate, right? But what is the proof? If you say passionate, everybody will say passionate. What is the proof that you are really genuinely passionate about a particular research or particular topic? And this is how you can show. Okay, I say I am interested in drug delivery. I'm really passionate about cancer research. This is the review article I have written. I couldn't publish the research article because I didn't have time. I didn't have proper resources. But I wrote an article and I'm knowledgeable in this topic. Because to write one review article, you have to read at least 50 to 100 other articles, right?
Right.
So the professor who is looking at your CV, although they know the journal, the quality of article is not that great, but at least you tried, right? They really appreciate that fact. And they understand that you're a master's student, you're from India. But within those constraints, if you manage to publish something in some journal, they really appreciate that. So if you have some research experience in any industry or research or in academia, that's always that's always beneficial. But at the same time, if you cannot get enough of that, try to write some review article to show that you are genuinely interested in the research. And that really helps, especially for PhD. For masters, it doesn't matter much. Okay, if you want to come here for masters, you just have to get good GRE IELTS score and you will land in some master's course, so that should not be. But of course, if you during BPharm also, if you get some kind of exposure and you write it in your CV, that increases your chances to go into the really good university and at the same time get some kind of scholarship. For masters also, it's not like impossible. So even master students also end up getting some kind of tuition waiver or assistantship if they have the enough research, exposure, if they have a good GRE IELTS score. So if you are a BPharma students, try to help some seniors. If you have masters in your college, if you have PhD in your college, help those students, help those your seniors during their project, for anything, and try to get some kind of credit if they are trying to publish something or if they're trying to some review article. And again, writing a review article, even if you're a BPharm student, you can write a review article, right? You don't need a lab for that. So if you're a BPharm student, try to write a review article. If you're a master's student, try to do research, try to do internship. At the same time, try to write a review article, and get some kind of research experience. And someone who is working in the industry, try to join research lab. Do not join somewhere you just working with the data and online, unless that's what you want to do in your life, unless that's what your goal is. I'm not saying that's bad, but if you want to be in research, if you want to be someone like me, laboratory director, or if you want to be in R&D, try to get into a industry, even if the pay is less, but that experience is going to help you in your career in future.
Also, majorly one question always comes in our mind when we are from middle class family in India, that the cost of living in an abroad means.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good question again. Okay, that always comes up. See, I'm from Maharashtra, Nasik, very big town city, not from like Mumbai, Pune, where most of the students or most of the people who come here, I see they are mostly from the privileged class, like not from middle class or lower middle class. And we being a middle class students, we always think that going abroad is only for rich kids, only for kids of Bollywood celebrities or politicians. They go to abroad, and that myth I had, but that got busted when I entered in BPharma. Fortunately, when I was in NDVP College of Pharmacy, we had a really good environment for study at that time, where one of our professor, his name is Milind Wagh, he used to bring our seniors from abroad. Like whenever, like someone like me who is visiting Nasik for Diwali or any occasion, right? So whenever I go, I visit CPN. I visit my college and just interact with the student. Same like he used to do. He used to ask the student come and just have interaction with us. And at that time, when I used to talk to them, like interact with our seniors who are already studying abroad. I thought, okay, these guys are also, from Nasik. They did also B Pharma from the same college. And if they can do it, I can also do it, and then I realized it's not about money, it's about what you have in your CV, what kind of experience you have, and how many, not how many, but how much you put in efforts. So one of the barrier we always think is finance, being from middle class family, that financial burden, and at the same time being from like Marathi medium. I studied in Marathi medium, right? So we always have that inferiority complex, and that should not be a barrier. If you are coming here for masters, as I said, you might end up paying some amount, like I previously mentioned. It can be 10-15 lakhs if you don't get any scholarship, anything initially. But as I said, you might, you don't want to worry about that if you are going to get the job, which is 40-50 lakhs per annum. So you need to think of that, and you should be confident about that. As opposed to PhD, you're always gonna get funded. Okay, so you need to spend money till you sit in the aeroplane. But once you land in USA, you don't have to pay like a single rupee. So what money you will need for is, the exams, GRE, IELTS, TOEFL exams. If you want to give those, the exam fees. Then application fees, you want to send applications to certain university, there will be like $50, $100 fee for each university. Then once you get an admission, there will be visa fee. And then of course, the flight ticket. So there are expenses till you sit in the aeroplane. But once you land in here, and I'm talking about only PhD, okay? You get a full tuition waiver, you get stipend on the top of that, and you don't have to pay anything else. Okay, so and these universities, they give you admission only if they have funding. So they're not going to give you admission and tell you that, okay, you find your own funding. That's not going to happen for PhD. That can happen for masters. They'll give you admission, you manage your own funding, you come here, you study, you do the part-time job and all that. But for PhD, you either get a admission with full funding, or you do not get admission at all. They will tell you, we don't have funding, apply next year. We cannot give you admission. So that's why for PhD, we cannot just randomly apply anywhere. Just because the university is good, just because your profile is really awesome, that doesn't mean they are going to give you admission. They need to have funding. They need to have opening for a PhD. So PhD applications are very different from masters. And talking about masters, as I said, if you don't end up getting some scholarship or some assistantship, you'll have to spend those initial 10-15 lakhs. But at the same time, as I said, you can do part-time job. So all universities, they allow in-campus part-time job for first semester. After first semester, you can do out of campus as well. So the living expenses, the cost of living, accommodation and food, that is being taken care by your part-time job. You can do like 40 hours per week of work, and that's enough for you to sustain there. But most of the universities, once the first semester is over, if your CGPA is good, if your IELTS score is good, you might end up getting some kind of assistantship. You might end up getting teaching assistantship, and you might end up getting tuition waiver. Sometimes they waive your fees. Okay, you do only 50% of fees, or you do 100% of tuition waiver, where you don't have to pay fees at all. So that is also very possible. But again, you have to put in efforts. You have to get a good marks or good grade in your first semester. So masters is also not that expensive like generally people think it is. Unless you are very lazy, and once you, like some students, they come to USA and they become lazy. They think they achieved everything. They stop studying. They start enjoying. They don't get enough, marks in their courses. They don't get scholarship, fellowship. So you have to keep working hard, and it won't be that expensive. But of course, as I said, for applications, for exams, you did need certain amount of money.
Next question is that is it we can change our discipline means for when we are thinking of to pursue a PhD in an abroad means when I'm coming from a pharmaceutical analysis background and thinking up to doing in some another discipline and then abroad for PhD.
Right.
So how
Right.
do you do that means?
Yeah.
There I
That's
require
another.
either I require some research background also related to that field for which I'm thinking of to pursue, or will it be okay with my actual field also, pharmaceutical analysis?
Right. So that's another good question. Okay. So one of the advantage of doing my PhD abroad is, you can change the discipline. And like I said, I'll give you my own example. Okay. So I did my master's in pharmaceutical analysis from Naipur, Hyderabad. I got admission into a medicinal chemistry laboratory. Okay. My advisor was a medicinal chemistry guy. But my project was making liposomes for drug delivery to cancer cells. And I developed a formulation, I tested it and everything. I prepared the liposomes, I targeted them, but I tested them on animals also, cancer cells also, cancer spheroids also. So although my field was pharmaceutical analysis, I got admission into medicine chemistry lab. I worked on a peptide synthesis also. So I did some chemistry work also, and I did pharmacology also. And my project had an involvement of other departments also, like nursing, like engineering. So my work was related to ultrasound targeted drug delivery, like whether you can track liposomes with ultrasound. So there was engineering also involved, So in Western countries, there is a lot of interdisciplinary research. So of course your background matters, but at the same time your intention matters. So someone like you said, you are a pharmaceutical analysis guy, but you want to change the field, or in pharmacology, or in pharmaceutics, or formulation, or drug delivery, molecular pharmaceutics, whatever that is, you have to justify it. And that's why they ask for statement of purpose. So one of the aspect of your PhD application or master's application is SOP. SOP is nothing but statement of purpose, where you write why you want to do PhD in a particular subject area and what makes you qualify. So you cannot just say that I'm interested in drug delivery and that's why I want to do, or there is a lot of scope for this field. I want to make sure I get the job. You cannot write that. So you have to justify that. And like for me, how I justified is, like during my master's, of course, I was working on, method development and LCMS and all the analytical techniques. But what I wrote is why I want to drug delivery is because it interests me and I've been reading about it, and I read research articles about it, or I wrote a review article about it because I was genuinely interested in it. So you have to connect those dots, why you are interested in particular research area. And if professor is convinced, they will take you, and it doesn't really matter. What they are looking for is whether you have a research aptitude, like whether you can do the research, whether you can do the troubleshooting, whether you can complete a research project. And it doesn't matter, like what kind of research background you have, as long as you know how the research is being done. So all they are looking for whether you can do the research or not. And if you can show that, then there is nothing can stop you from changing your discipline. And it's very common. I'll give you an example of my wife also. My wife, she was a pharmacology toxicology. She was from the pharmacology toxicology department, and all her research was, molecular biology. She used in a particular cancer on a particular pathway, on those molecular biology techniques, not like traditional pharmacology and toxicology. Like one of my friend, he was a pharmaceutical guy, but he ended up working on like a formulation, but all the work he did was only pharmacology related. So they understand the fact that once you join the lab, of course you need to learn some techniques. They don't give you a project and ask you to start from day one. So what they do is, when you join the lab, of course, you work under some senior, some postdoc or some PhD students who is already there for a couple of years, and you learn the techniques there, So although I am a pharma analysis guy, I might not know how the peptide synthesis works, right? I mean, I would know HPLC, but peptide synthesis, I won't know. I mean, they had HPLC where they used to purify the peptide. So I had an idea, but still, if we change the instrument, the software will change and you cannot operate the instrument, right? So anyway, they have to train you, right? So the first 6 months mostly are like that, that you have to work under somebody and you slowly learn the techniques, irrespective of the discipline. And then after 6 months, 6 months, they give you a topic and then you slowly start working towards that. So your background doesn't really matter. It matters to a certain extent. Suppose if you're working on a particular, like a niche topic, working on a pancreatic cancer, for example, and its particular pathway, and you happen to find a professor who is working on that pathway, then of course that guy would be interested in profile, right? Compared to some pharma analysis guy. So that will always benefit. But that doesn't mean you will not be considered. That's what I'm saying, So if they get a student who has exact overlap with their research, they always try to prefer that student. But that doesn't mean they will not, look into somebody else's profile. And it's not like that, they will find a student exactly matching with their research profile, right? So it doesn't happen all the time. If it happens, that's good. But even if it happens that student might not have a good GRE score, that student might not have IELTS score, right? So there are different things need to come together. So my answer is short that yes, you can change the discipline. Only thing you have to do is you have to support it with some kind of evidence that why you like it. And if you have some research article or if you have some review article, so like you are doing pharmaceutical analysis, right? But if you want to move to some other research area, neuropharmacology, for example, just write some article in pharmaceutical analysis. For example, analytical techniques use the neuropharmacology, for example. So you kind of merging two disciplines. So I'm pharma analysis guy, and I want to do research related to cancer or targeted cancer drug delivery. So I'll write how liposomes are characterized in analytical department for cancer drug delivery. So something like that. So always try to find a bridge and try to write the review article so that it becomes easy to explain. But if you write it in a SOP, if you explain it properly, they will consider you for that.
So the last question coming up with this session is that our consultancy service, how it assists a student when he just dream of things to go in abroad for PhD or either for the master, means how the consultancy is from your side, sir.
So like I mentioned initially, right? So when I was doing B Farm during 2004-05 at that time, we didn't have much guidance. Okay, although as I said, our seniors used to come, but those seniors used to come, they visit and they used to leave, right? And at that time, internet was not that, not that easily accessible. The social networking, WhatsApp, Facebook were not that popular. So it was very hard to communicate somebody abroad, get information about the universities, their requirement, how the admission process works and all that. There was not much information at that time. And like we three friends, we were three friends, we were studying together. We really felt that, like somebody should have been there to guide us. And although there are now a lot of consultancies, in all the cities for study abroad, they mostly focus on engineering. All they care about engineering students, because of course, mostly the engineering students, they try to go abroad because pharmacy students, they don't know they can go abroad, because we already have that inferiority complex. So with that thought, I always wanted to help students, especially pharma students, so all my juniors, my colleagues, my relatives, they used to talk to me and ask me, they now know that, oh, okay, Rahul is there doing his PhD, he's doing really good job. Then how did he reach there? you know. So with that thought, I mean, of course, I was helping them casually as they come. But then I thought that, you know, during this COVID, I thought, you know, like I should start it like officially where, you know, I have a website and my focus should be pharmacy, because the students, they go to, you know, like consultancies like Dilip Oak and, you know, all these big, but they don't understand what is the difference between pharmacology, pharmaceutics.
Right.
They don't know the difference between, you know, regulatory toxicology, and they don't understand the, you know, how to write SOP. Like SOP, you need to write why you want to do research in cancer therapeutics, or why you want to do research in, you know, biological method development. If they don't understand the topic, how they will help you with the SOP, right? And SOP is one of the most important aspects. How to contact a professor, you know, how to change the draft, how to write the letters of recommendations. So all these change on, you know, discipline basis. Like you cannot just copy like an engineering template and use it in your pharmacology SOP, right? So me being from an IPER, me being from pharma background, I thought, you know, like pharma students will get benefit from my journey. And I just wanted to give them confidence that even if you're a Marathi, you know, Marathi medium students, you're coming from a humble middle class background, you can still come here, you know, and it's not like you need a lot of some lakhs money to come abroad, you know. If you have a proper focus and determination, you can do it. So what I did is I started this Rajdeep study abroad consultancy, where I mean, of course, I am open to all the students, irrespective of discipline. But because I'm from pharma student, like pharma background, I'm a pharma student myself. Once, most of my students, you know, 90% of my students are from pharma, especially from NIPERs, different NIPERs. So what we do is, you know, I help them with the coaching. Of course, I don't teach myself because that's not what my expertise in. So I hired, you know, instructors, tutors for GRE, IELTS, and we have online coaching, just like we are doing, like a Zoom every day. And we try to keep it in the night, so that even if you're doing job daytime, if you're doing project during daytime, you can always, you know, come back home, or even if you're traveling, you can take it from anywhere, you know. And all these exams are all online now, right? So studying all online is always better. So we have this coaching online, and then we have consultancy, like admission consultancy, where I help the students throughout the process, starting from, you know, how to draft a CV, research-oriented CV, then how to communicate with the professors, then how to write a SOP, how to write a letters of recommendations, how to shortlist universities. You know, like I said, you cannot just randomly apply anywhere. You know, you have to know that there is a funding, there is an opening, and there is a interest in your profile from that department or from a particular professor. So otherwise, if you just randomly apply, you're not going to get admission. You will just end up losing money, time, and energy, you know. So where you apply is really important. You know, you need to have some kind of chance. You know, you need to have some chance of admission there. Then only you need to apply. And this process takes time, you know, like at least 3-4 months. And that's why the consultancy comes. So once you enroll with me, I try to be there with the students till they land in USA. I mean, of course, now after application, you get admission. After getting admission, there is a visa process, right? So there is a visa documentation, there is a visa interview, you know, and after visa is done, then you need to find accommodation, communicate with the students here, make sure that you have accommodation, you have enough money and everything. So I help out with that. So basically, I'm there throughout the process till you land in USA. So consider it like, you know, you are driving a car, you know, you have a steering in the hand. I'm sitting beside you. I'm telling you the direction, where, you know, which way to go, where to stop, where to speed up, you know, like that. So it's like guidance, you know. I guide the students, which I missed when I was doing applications back then. And being a pharma student, like, you need a specific guidance, right? You need to know the difference, as I said, you know, what is the difference between pharmacology and Sutex. So which other consultancies, they can't do it. So that's why my whole intention is to give the confidence to pharma students that they can come abroad. Especially students who are doing masters, like if you are doing masters in India, you have really good chance. Of course, there are prerequisites like, you need to get a decent scores in GRE, IELTS. Of course, if you have a, good research background, it increases your chances of admission. But there is nothing you cannot do. If you have determination, if you have focus, you can certainly come to USA for PhD. Yeah. And with full funding.
Okay. The last question is productive time management. Your say over this productive time management. It's very important in student life, I can say.
Yeah. So see, see, right now those days are gone where you can just sit at home and just prepare for exam. You don't want to do that. I mean, if you are already finished with your masters, I want you to join some job. Earn some money, save some money, and use that for application. If you are doing your masters currently, if you're doing your project, do that during your daytime and save some time in the evening, at least a couple of hours for the studies, for the university search, and for communication with the professors. And how to manage the time? See, you are only gonna get busier. Sometimes students think that, okay, right now I'm busy, I'll do it next month, I'll do it next year, I'll do it after degree, I'll do it after 1 year of job. It's not gonna happen. I'm telling you. You only get busier and busier in your life going forward. So the best time you can have to study is right now. Study it. If you're sleeping for 8 hours, don't sleep for 8 hours. Sleep for only 6 hours. Give those 2 extra hours to your study. Reduce on your social media. Social media, I know, you need that. I mean, you cannot avoid it, but try to minimize it. And now there are apps where, you can put the timer, be it Apple or be it Android phone, they have the certain features where you can restrict your time. So do that. Try to be on LinkedIn more compared to Instagram. Try to communicate with the professors. Try to communicate with the seniors. Your seniors abroad. Ask them what they are doing right now. How they are doing in their life. Get their feedback. Somebody is in Europe, somebody is in Canada, somebody is in America. Ask about their experience. Ask about what their future after PhD. Just because I'm telling you, don't go for, don't start preparing for GI. That's the worst somebody can do is, just blindly following somebody. So don't do that. Do your own research. Manage your time. And like I said, work on your English. This is one thing which I notice, like we students as a pharma or in India overall, the reading culture, we don't read. We always read textbooks only, So try to read newspaper, try to read novels, Start with some Indian authors like Chetan Bhagat, Start from the bottom, from the lowest of low. Then slowly, start reading Salman Rushdie, Jhumpa Lahiri, Arundhati Roy, and whatever, authors you like. And then slowly go to the international authors. But reading is really important. Novels, mysteries, whatever you want to read, self-help books, or Robin Sharma, whatever. But read, read something which is not from your textbook. Read some outside, improve your vocabulary of English. Try to find and now you have a dictionary in your cell phone, right? So if you come across a new English word, immediately find the meaning of it, so that you can remember it for your lifetime. And every day, like I said, like an hour or two, dedicate it to your future. Be it improving English, be it going for GRE, IELTS, or whatever you want to do. Give that extra 2 hours. Like I said, social media and sleep. That's all you can sacrifice. Other things you cannot offer, right? So, and it's not an excuse, having a project work and having a job, that's always gonna be there. You're not gonna get away from it. So right now is the best time you can prepare. There is no better time in future. I'm telling you, you're only gonna get busier. And I'm telling from my own experience, my students' experience. Most of my students are like that. They're either doing their masters or they finish their master doing the job. They all complain that time management, but most of them manage, because over the period of time you kind of know, okay, where can I save the time, how can I do it, and you have to do it. There is no way around it. So, and if you have any questions, any doubts regarding study abroad or related to any pharmaceutical science, our field itself, do not hesitate to, contact me either through LinkedIn or through my WhatsApp number. I think Pratik has all the information, so we can share it with you. But go for PhD. Okay, and that's the last I wanted to say before we close. Go for PhD and do it only outside India. Okay, do it abroad, and you will thank me after a few years. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Sir, with this, we are ending our session. Thanks for joining me on my channel, sir. It was really a valuable thing you joined and explained up all the things studying in and abroad and about the PhDs and masters to pursue in and abroad and all. Thanks for it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratik. Thanks and good luck with your channel. It's really good. There are very few pharma dedicated channels. Okay, so do not give up on this channel. Keep flourishing it and keep helping your juniors.
Yeah.
So like I'm trying, from my side, you're also trying, which is really good. So thank you, everybody, and bye for now.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
With this, I'm ending up this today's session here. Those who are having the queries related and those who want to ask sir personally, they just can connect with sir on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn ID I'm just giving up in the description box. Do just check it out and connect with sir and ask your queries and answer questions to him. So with this, thank you for today.